6 years ago, a medium told me if I did not leave my house, that something was going to kill me. Summer 2018, I moved with my son to North Carolina where his dad was stationed. He had been living in the house that we were renting, but we didn't have anything, just the couch that we were sleeping on for a little bit because we were gonna order a bed and it was not gonna get there until November. So we decided we were just gonna sleep on the couch. Every other room was completely done and ready to go. 2 weeks later, I started at my new job at Lux Salon in Raleigh. I started the same day as a girl named Veronica. Found out the day before I started that I was pregnant with my daughter. What's relative about that is at night when you first are pregnant, when you're pregnant the whole time, you have to pee a ton. And my husband at the time and I were sleeping on the couch because we didn't have a bed until November, and it was September at this point. And so the first time I have to go back to the bathroom in the middle of the night, my eyes are adjusted, I sit up and I start walking towards the bathroom, which is like down the hallway. And I feel a heaviness, and then I feel like I'm walking through a black shadow. I freak out, I flip on the light really fast. Obviously there was nothing there, and I kept that light on. The first instance of something like spooky happening, but at night things would fall off of the walls and it was terrifying to me. So I'm telling everyone at work, like, you know, I'm the new girl, I'm weird, but I have all this stuff happening to me. So I'm discussing everything, and Veronica's like listening and stuff, and we're becoming, you know, like buds. She's clocking it. I didn't know her mom was a medium, and she didn't disclose that, nor do I think that necessarily she told her mom any of this. One night it got really scary because it was like 8 o'clock at night, we're around the dinner table, and there's banging on the side of our house, and there's no windows on that side. So I text my neighbor, I was like, hey, are you banging on the side of the house? She's like, oh my gosh, no. And then suddenly the banging was upstairs above us and in my son's room. My son had been screaming like twice for whatever reason at night, which is very unusual for him. So that freaked me out too. So my husband runs upstairs and he can't hear the banging, but I can hear the banging. And I'm like, he's like, there's nothing. I'm like, it's banging still. He runs downstairs and the banging is on the side of the house again. I don't even remember what we did that night. I blacked out. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember telling my family it was happening, but I told the girls out at work. Okay. I was like, listen, this is happening and this is creepy. I'm pregnant. Finally, we have a bed, okay? So I don't have to do the spooky bathroom trips at night. So we have a bed, we live upstairs. One night when I was pretty pregnant, I shot up in bed because I was being choked. And I'm sorry if I'm talking about this like very nonchalantly. This is my 4th time recording this. The last time I recorded it, like just 5 minutes ago, the audio was gone. So I should actually check and see if the audio's working. Okay, it's working. Wake up, I'm being choked. And it's not like reflux like you get when you're pregnant. It's like I felt like someone was choking on me. I sit up so fast. I'm like, it's hard to breathe, but I catch my breath. And I'm like, and I just think, okay, reflux. Because I'm scared. I don't want to admit that there's something spooky going on. I had a relationship with God, but not really. I wasn't praying to him or anything like that. Like the relationship was just not there. I wish I had a relationship at that point because I feel like I would be able to just like cast the demons out. So I tell my neighbor, who's like a little bit woo-woo, and her best friend is also woo-woo. They're like witches, and they're like, listen, there is such a heavy presence in this house. Like it's terrifying. I've got my cross, my baby, we've got the windows open, we're saging, I'm saying that our Father, you know, because I'm Catholic, that's just like what I know, that's all I know. Everything is good and clear until I give birth to my daughter. I was in so much bliss, and I started getting very sick. I had rashes all over my body, I couldn't bend my fingers, like it was very progressive. And I kept getting more and more sick. I went to the emergency room. I went to my OB/GYN. Like no one can figure out exactly what is going on. So I get on this like antibiotic type of thing. And I start feeling good on Friday. Monday, June 10th, baby. is when my AVM burst. I didn't know I had my AVM at all. So all I think is I have a massive headache. It was to the point where I could not go to sleep. And I have my whole stroke story on my profile. You can go and listen to it. So I'm going to really skip ahead. Go to the hospital in June. I'm home by October. I realized because of my stroke, I can't go up and downstairs. At this point, like, I was in a walker for assistance. We need to buy a house. We need to buy a house. We buy a cute little ranch, and I tell all the girls at work, like, oh my gosh, like, I bought a house. And Veronica goes, wait, so you're not in that house anymore? I'm like, no. She goes, okay, my mom wrote you a letter. When I say this letter blew my mind, go to part 2.
I took my gay roommate to a strip club once, and he discovered that when he's drunk, he's not as gay as he thought he was. But there's a follow-up to that story because I already told it. He wanted to go back a second time, right? And this is like a week later. I tell him, okay, Lucas, I will go to a strip club again, but we're going to go to a different one because the Southern Exposure that we went to was a little fucking rank. It was a little rank. A little bushwhack, so let's try a different one to see maybe if there's a better one that we could go to. The only other one was this place called Diamond Girls, right? And I remember it because a year prior, we had actually looked for that club, but whenever we went to the Apple Maps location, it was actually a school. And we were like, I know this is West Virginia, but I don't think we're quite at that level yet where a school becomes a strip club at night, but I don't know. You never know. I don't know what's going on in Mingo County or in fucking, Kanawha. Either way, we actually find out that there is an Diamond Girls location now, a year later. And we're like, fuck it, we'll go there. It's the only other club that there is for like an hour. We'd have to drive to Pittsburgh to get anything, so we're just going to go there instead. And if we decide to change our minds, we'll just go to the Southern Exposure, wherever. So we drive there, right? And we are going, it's like the path to fucking Narnia. Again, I don't know what it is about Morgantown and these strip clubs being literally in backwoods butt fuck nowhere. But this club was really fucking big. It was in there, cabin in the woods type shit. Literally, we pull up and it's an empty lot, obviously. And there's only like a red Chevy there, but it's a barn. It's a barn, like a barn style house with lights on it. And we knew that there was people in there because you could see through the windows, like there's like little shiny disco lights, and there was also music playing. So we're like, okay, there's definitely people here. So we pile on out of the car, and when we walk up to the door to push it, it's locked. So we knock on this strip club door. Okay, the first thing that happens is that this door opens and a fucking pit bull pokes his head under through the fucking door. And like right off the bat, I'm like, okay, like I fuck with that. I fuck with dogs. I just feel like this is not an appropriate location for that. And the second head that pokes out is this very crackheadular, crackheadulous, fentanylis, redneck gentleman, right, with a Marlboro Red hanging out his lip and trucker cap, everything. He's like in his 50s, and he's very jovial. He greets us. He's like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? And we sort of look at each other like, we're doing all right. I feel compelled to tell you that we're doing okay. Hey guys, well, there's a $10 cover, so it's gonna be $10 from each of you. I'm like, okay. Sure. Should we get the fuck out of here? And then my roommate Lucas already had his wallet out, so I was like, okay, I guess we're fucking committing to this. Whatever. We give the guy our fucking money and we walk inside. Okay. Again, it's just a fucking house. It's a house that's been cleared out with no fucking furniture except for like this cock couch in the left here, okay? Like a jukebox on the left. Not even like the like Bluetooth kind, like it's just a fucking jukebox, like one from the 60s. And there's like a bar to the right, and all of the dancers are sitting there, and like, bro, the dancers, like, oh my fucking god. Look, I'm not one to judge I'm not one to judge, not one to body shame, okay? But at least in this particular profession, I feel like there's a standard for body composition, right? Okay, and these okay, a lot of creativity went into designing these human beings, okay? That's all. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, so I'm like so enthralled with the dog. I was delighted about the dog, okay, to be honest, because I looked in there, saw how whack that shit was. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this dog. This is my boy for tonight. When we finally get inside, the redneck is like, hey, if y'all want some drinks, y'all can come get some, but if you want to dance, just go on and sit back there and we'll have somebody up. And we're like, okay, great, awesome. It's just a kitchen. It's like a dining room with a fucking pole in it and like 4 chairs in a circle around it. I shit you not. I like it. You can't take pictures inside, but like I promise you have to believe me, it was this bushwhack. When we walk in there, because we're like, okay, what the fuck else are we gonna do? Like we already came this far, we already paid the cover, might as well watch the show. We sit down, and like me and my other roommate are like sketched out. My gay roommate, completely oblivious. He is delighted. We sit down, and in comes fucking Titus, the fucking Space Marine. I swear to God, this bitch was 6'7". 6'7", 6'8". She was tall as fuck. Really just like not pleasurable to look at. Okay, but she low-key looked like Gianna Michaels. So I was like, I'm kind of rocking with it. Okay, I'm kind of rocking with it. We sit down, and she like she stomps up to the stage and gets in there. She starts doing her thing, and it's not good. She's not doing a great job, and it's not because of inexperience, but just inability. I just don't think her body's physically capable of maneuvering the pole in a nimble fashion. Nor did it seem like she was interested in doing that, because she did her little whatever, spun around the pole like 3 times, and then she pulled her undergarments down and showed the monkey. My gay roommate again is delighted, and I'm an abject horror, and I'm looking at my other roommate. I'm like, bro, like we need to get the fuck out of here. This place is so bad. And then it comes to the point where she's like showing off her, thorax area. And she's like looking for, donations. And we're fresh out. My wallet did not want to leave my pocket. So in there it stayed. So she kind of gets mad and storms off because she sees that we're like not giving her any money. And then we're like, okay. And then we sort of get up and we start shifting towards the door. And as we're doing that, like one of the girls stops us and be like, hey, I'll fuck you for $200. We got the fuck out of there very soon after that. And when we went back to Southern Exposure, we were essentially being held in the arms of the dancers there, and we were crying from how fucking traumatizing that experience was. And they told us, like, yeah, that shit is a brothel. That is not a strip club. That is a brothel. Anyway, that's my long story for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
This happened when my niece was around 18 or 19. She was living in a city about an hour away to go to college and was also working at a restaurant. That night, my husband, baby daughter and I had travelled to the city and eaten at that restaurant where we saw my niece. We said goodbye to her, we left, and we went back to our much smaller city. And instead of going back home, we decided to play cards at another couple's house close by. We stay well past our daughter falling asleep, and we didn't make it back to our house until 3 a.m. We get inside, and our answering machine is loaded with messages. First, my niece asking if I'm okay and to please call her, followed by several more with increasing urgency. Then we got a message from Kentucky State Police saying an officer was at my door to do a wellness check. We don't even have time to start calling anyone back before the police have returned and they're knocking on our door. They tell me my niece contacted police in her city and said she received a phone call that led her to believe that I'd been in a terrible accident and needed assistance. The police had gone into her town and gone to the location my niece was at, but they could see nothing. She led them to a field that led up to some woods. They wouldn't search the woods for her, though, because they said that their heat sensors were not indicating that there was any wreckage there. They leave, and they contact the police in my town. So now the police have finally located me hours later, and they call her right in front of me to let her know I'm alive, and I hear her cry out in relief through the phone. Case closed. Cops peace out. But what had made my niece react in this way? Her phone call. She's home from work, and she's lying in bed with her girlfriend about to fall asleep. She had a cell phone and it rang. No number, so she ignored it. Then she realised she could count on one hand the number of people who had that number.
Yeah.
She'd only got on that phone a week, so she did answer. Nothing. Nobody said anything. She repeated her hellos, then said, "Look, I can't hear anything, I'm hanging up." Then she heard someone try to speak, but she couldn't make it out. She repeated, "I can't hear you." The voice tried harder, but it seemed to have trouble, like they were gurgling on something. My niece got a terrible sense that it was blood and handed the phone to her girlfriend, who was in the military and better trained for someone who may have a medical emergency. The girlfriend asked the person on the phone if they could switch to pushing buttons and yes or no questions. The person on the phone obliges. They establish that yes, there has been an accident, and yes, they need help. The girlfriend is trying to get a location, but this yes-no stuff isn't getting it done. The voice starts trying to talk again, this time stronger. It's still low and laboured, but they can tell they're talking to a female, and she is pinned underneath something. Through her faint speech and switching to tones anytime they could, they learn she was in a vehicle with a man and a baby. She can't tell where she is because she's trapped and it's dark. My niece's girlfriend asks the woman to start naming everything she passed before she wrecked, every landmark. My niece is flipping out and is certain it's me and we just never made it home. I just happen to be one of the few people with her phone number. So they jump in the Jeep and they start searching for these landmarks. The woman ends up leading them to a field just outside of town. Things start feeling eerie to my niece and her girlfriend. They're no longer in the lights of the town, it's dark, and something feels off. They're approaching a curve, and the lady on the phone says, "I see lights." As they turn the curve, she says, "They're gone." The girlfriend stops the Jeep and reverses. The woman says, on the phone, "They're back. Is that you? Please come help me." Still feeling off, the girlfriend looks at my niece, headlights pointing straight into an empty field that ends in a tree line, and she shuts off the lights. As soon as they did, the voice says, "No, come back, please help me. I'm stuck." They turn the lights back on and start slowly driving off-road into the field. They're telling her they can't see her, and she keeps saying, "Well, I can see you. I can see your lights. Please help." They drive only a few feet away, and she says, "I'm right here." They stop the Jeep, unable to see anything. She says, "There, I can see you. Can you see my hand?" And the call cuts off. And that's when they contacted the police.
Okay, so I'm back with another story time. This is my personal story time, and it's a scary story time. Well, I guess you could call it scary. But I recorded this video like 6 times on my phone, and for some reason it's just not recording it. Like when I finish doing the whole video, it's just disappearing. So I'm gonna record it on my iPad. It's the day of my grandma's funeral. I was like 7, 8, or 9. I don't know which number. I just know I was between those ages. So we in the city at my grandma from my mother's side of the family now, right? We at her house. And my parents asked me if I wanted to go to my grandma's funeral. She was my dad's mom. So I'm like, at that age, I didn't really like funerals like that. So I didn't want to go because I just didn't like funerals like that. Plus, it was just like, I was in a good mood. You know, I was a kid, I was playing, and then I didn't want to go and be sad for the rest of the day. So my parents was like, okay, cool. We're not going to force you to come. So they go. I'm not sure if they brought all my other siblings because they was way younger than me. But fast forward to like 7, 8 at night, right? So now we at my grandmother that passed away's apartment. Everybody is there. When I tell you everybody, I mean everybody, even family members that I probably never even met before. It's so many of us in the house that, like, not all of us could sit, but we're all in the living room. Some of us are standing. Some of us are, like, kind of in the living room, but kind of in the kitchen because it's right beside each other. But, yeah, so we all chilling. We talking about my grandmother. And everybody's talking about, like, you know, the stuff that they loved about her. Also, the stuff that they didn't understand why she did or why she said or anything like that. Like, everybody's sharing a memory they had with her, talking about the bittersweet moments. Now, there's a phone that's in the living room, and then she had her own phone in her room. And her room wasn't too far from the living room. Like, you could see if somebody went in her room. Nobody was in her room. Like I said, everybody was in the living room. So in the middle of us talking, we get interrupted by a call. And the call is coming from the phone in her room. So everybody's just looking at the phone for like a good 5 seconds quietly. Like, whoever was talking just stopped talking. And my dad does not like stuff like that. So he's just looking at the phone and he's telling everybody do not answer it. But, you know, my mom being the complete opposite of him, curiosity girl, she over here like, yeah, answer the phone. So, and then me being the age I was, wanting to always play fucking scary games, I'm over here like, yeah, like, answer the phone. We answer the phone, and when we answer the phone, all you can hear is air, because it's like one of those old-fashioned Hispanic people phones. Well, so if you know, you know. Okay, don't take that personal. But, yeah, so you don't hear talking, you don't hear whispering, you don't hear breathing, you don't hear movement, you don't hear nothing, you just hear the air. So we on the phone for like a good minute, like 60 seconds. We on the phone and we didn't hang up because my aunt had placed the phone onto the table. The phone hangs up by itself. So that means whoever was on the other line hung up the phone. But I personally think that was my grandmother calling us because, like I said, we was talking about her. We was talking about good things and bad things. But we laughing at it and shit. And she called like, y'all in my motherfucking house talking about me. I'm still here. Like, so yeah, that's my little scary story time. My mom, though, she has scary stories for days. Like, her scary stories is some shit that should be in a movie. But if y'all want those two, just let me know.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Because he knows he wasn't supposed to fall asleep. He's supposed to be guarding this crime scene to make sure nobody touches this body. And also remember, he thinks the killer could be out here. Like it's an actual real possibility. They might come back and do something to the body. And he's just fallen asleep. And so he kind of scrambles to his feet. He's taking stock of the scene. You know, it's still raining. It's still cold and dark out. And he turns and he looks where the body was supposed to be. And it's gone. The body is gone. And so instinctively, he's thinking, oh, the killer's nearby. They must have grabbed the body. He reaches for his gun, and his holster's empty. And so now it's like truly a nightmare scenario for Fareed. He was supposed to be here to watch the crime scene, and he allowed the body to be taken, and he's been disarmed. Now, fortunately, he had his, service knife, and he pulled that out. That's all he's got at this point. But he's thinking, I'm screwed. Like, what happened? Where did it go? Where'd the body go? Where'd my gun go? What do I do? And so he starts thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe an animal came by and grabbed the body and dragged the body, and it's nearby. And he's sort of like looking up and down the beach, and he's thinking, it could be pretty far away, but he sees there's no drag marks. There's no way the body could have been dragged by an animal. And then also, what, an animal came back and unclipped his holster and took his gun out and took that away? That doesn't make any sense. He would have at least woken up if that was happening. But then he's like, well, wait a minute, maybe a wave came up and grabbed the body and dragged it into the ocean. That's why it's not here. That's why there's no drag marks. But he looked at where he was sleeping, and almost certainly, if the body had been struck with a big wave that dragged it into the ocean, Fareed would have been hit by that same wave, and he would have woken up. And then also, again, who took his gun? And so the realization hit Fareed that the only explanation here is a person came over here while I was asleep, took the body, took my gun, and now they're gone. So the night before, Fareed, the officer who was, left on the beach to guard the scene, the one who fell asleep, Fareed, his cousin, a man named Habib Jaber, had been walking along the beach alone when he had been attacked. This man had robbed him and then killed him and decapitated him. And he had left Habib's body on the shore. But he had taken his head and the money he had stolen from him back to his home. But several hours later, the killer realized maybe it had been a mistake to leave so much evidence behind, namely leaving behind the headless body. Maybe that could get them in trouble. So they decide, okay, I'm going to go back and get the body and bring it here as well to get rid of the evidence. But when the killer got back to the beach, back to the crime scene, he saw the body was now being guarded by a police officer. And that police officer was Fareed. Now, it's very important that you understand that Fareed, the officer, had no idea that the body he was guarding belonged to his cousin. All he knew was that this was a man who was killed. But because he was missing his head, he had not been able to identify him as his cousin. He just thought it was some stranger, some man had been killed, not his cousin. Now, when the killer got to the beach, he was about to turn around because he sees I can't do anything because, this officer is guarding the body. What can I do? But he snuck up a little bit closer and he realized the police officer, Fareed, he had fallen asleep on the job. And so while Fareed was sleeping, the killer did walk up, pick up the body, carry it off to his house, which was not far away. And he also went back and he took Fareed's gun out of his holster, all while Fareed was asleep. So literally the worst thing that Fareed thought could have happened, that he was basically duped by the killer while he slept, did happen. So after the killer has taken the body and the gun away from Fareed and he's back at his home down the beach, he decided what he would do is he would start a big fire and he would dispose of the body that way. He would burn it in the fire and that would get rid of all the evidence and he'd be just fine. And so as the killer is chopping up firewood, basically at the end of the beach, not far from Fareed, believe it or not, he's chopping up all this firewood, Fareed wakes up in a panic, realizing, oh my gosh, the body's gone, my gun's gone, what do I do? And Fareed turns and he sees there's this man at the end of the beach who's chopping wood. Now, Fareed has no idea that man is actually literally the killer of his cousin. He has no idea. He just thinks it's some random dude who lives at the end of this beach who's chopping wood. But Fareed, he's so desperate to salvage his job. He's got to find this body. He's got to find his gun. He's thinking, man, this guy, he lives so close to the crime scene. Maybe he saw something strange. Maybe he can help me find the body and my gun. And so Fareed walks on down the beach, not realizing he's about to come face to face with his cousin's killer. Fast forward several hours, and Fareed's partner finally returns to the beach, now with a team of detectives, and they're ready to investigate. And Fareed's partner, at first glance, looks down to the sand and he sees, one person standing there next to what appears to be a headless body on the ground. And he thinks, okay, there's Fareed and there's the body. The scene is the same as it was when I left it. But when they got a little bit closer, Fareed's partner started to notice something. The body on the ground, it had the wrong clothes on. They're different than what the body had on last night. What's going on here? This discrepancy would be made clear once Fareed's partner got down right next to the body and really got a look at it. He saw clearly the body is not the same as the night before. It's not just the clothes. Fareed's partner didn't know this, but it's not Fareed's cousin. That's not who this is. But the body also did not belong to Fareed either. Fareed was standing right next to the body. In fact, it would turn out really nothing about the scene that Fareed's partner found on the beach that morning was what it appeared to be at first glance. He and the rest of the team had to spend the rest of the morning searching the beach and the entire neighboring village and conducting countless interviews with potential witnesses to finally put it all together and make sense of it. And by the end of that day, the story that they managed to put together was so totally bizarre that it made headlines all over the world. Because Fareed was so desperate to keep his job, when he walked down the beach to go talk to that man chopping wood to see if he knew anything about what happened to the body, where did it go, did you see anything strange? As he was talking to this guy, again, not knowing it is literally the killer of your cousin. Fareed doesn't know this. He thinks it's a complete stranger. Fareed starts having this idea. He's like, well, wait a minute. I have my knife. What if I kill this man? No one's here. Cut his head off and put his body over there. No one will know. I'll replace the body. And so that's what Fareed did. He murdered this man, believing it was just some random guy to save his job. He's standing there when the partner comes down and he's like, look, I guarded the body. But it wasn't the body. It was a guy he murdered to save himself. But it just so happened to be that the guy he murdered was literally the killer of his cousin. Had no idea. And so even though in sort of a roundabout, backwards, vigilante way, justice was done here, Fareed took out the killer of his own cousin, even though that did technically happen, Fareed was still arrested for murder.